It's Sarah Connor and James Bond taking on Mother Nature. What could possibly go wrong? Dante's Peak released in the greatest year of film ever, 1997, and is directed by Roger Donaldson, who has also directed such films like Nutcase, No Way Out, Cocktail, Species, The Recruit, and The Bank Job. And this film is starring Pierce Brosnan, Linda Hamilton, and Charles Hallahan. And the reason why we're talking about Dante's Peak today is because it was a PayPal recommendation and donation from one of my contributors and supporters on this channel, James Filbury. Thank you very much for this recommendation. I have watched this movie many times. I haven't, like, in the last 15-20 years, though. I remember my brother, he said he watched this in school and really loved it, so he brought home the VHS and sat us all, the family, down, and we all watched this movie, and because my brother loved it, I was loving it too. And I remember just watching this film on repeat many times. And I was a little upset when I was getting into watching this movie and looking at Rotten Tomatoes and seeing the very low critic score on there, thinking, what? This movie's not that bad. I mean, yes, it's in the 90s and it's probably out of date. The visual effects are probably out of date, but it's not that bad. And it's... Harry Dalton is the greatest volcanologist in the world, and he's been called in to look at some suspicious activity from a dormant volcano at Dante's Peak. And as he arrives, he befriends the mayor of the town, played by Linda Hamilton, but he starts seeing very subtle signs that this volcano may have some volcanic activity. And as the film goes along and as his team comes into town, he's growing more and more confident that this volcano's gonna blow. So Harry's about to find out just how hard it is to convince a town that their volcano is going to blow up. Yes, this plot synopsis does call for the Rob Schneider voice to talk about it, because this is this is a pretty ridiculous movie. And it's not ridiculous like on paper. You write this plot and this conflict down on paper and you go, yeah, that makes sense. And you know what? Let's get some big names into it. Hey, Pierce Brosnan was just James Bond in GoldenEye a couple of years ago. Let's get him. And Linda Hamilton, well, she's Sarah Connor. She was in Judgment Day a couple of years before this too. Let's get them both in here. Two big action stars in this movie that we're going to label as an action movie, but has the least amount of action in any action movie that I have ever seen before in my life. They are trying to make this film as dramatic and epic and action-packed as possible, but when you actually look at what's happening in the scene, nothing is happening. For example, Harry and one of his associates are on top of the mountain. They're sending a robot down to take some readings about the air and carbon monoxide and all that shit. The robot malfunctioned and his associate goes down there to fix him. And then there's a little seismic activity, like a little shake. And all these boulders comes crashing down onto his associate and breaks his leg. And Harry's running down and he's calling for the chopper to come up there and get them. And the music is swelling and it's making it sound more epic. And Pierce Brosnan is hooking both of them up to the cable from the rescue chopper. And he's going like, go, 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 go. And it looks dramatic. It looks thrilling. It looks action-packed. But when you take a step back and actually look at what's happening, the mountain shimmied a little bit. He broke his leg. Yes, that's terrible. But then the scene resolved itself with him hooking himself up to the rescue chopper, and they were lifted away in safety. That's not action-packed or thrilling at all. And that's one of the hard things about doing a film in the disaster film genre, especially when the disaster that you're selecting comes from Mother Nature, because there's no fighting a natural disaster. That disaster is going to happen. All we are watching as an audience member is the fallout and to see if these people are going to survive. But, you know, if they're going to plant their ass in front of this dormant volcano and they're not listening to the people who are like, hey, there might be something here, and if they're not getting their butts out of town, then I'm like, I don't feel bad for you at all if you're gonna die, which the majority of all the assholes in this movie do. But I never realized watching this film as a kid. I see it now as an adult, but as a kid I never realized just how little action there is and thrills there are in this movie when we're supposed to be, it's a disaster movie and it's going to be the end of times and these characters need to get from point A to point B and they need to do the thing. But the majority of the time, it's just the volcano going... And then, of course, to make this film appealing to all generations, you have to have a couple of kid characters in here that make some dumbass decisions where our smart people, because they're heroic, need to go after the children. So I'm going along with our heroes and our protagonists to save these kids who make this really dumb decision to drive up to the top of the mountain to go get their grandma who wants to stay up there for some goddamn dumbass fucking reason. And it's just like, oh god, you're such dumb. You dumb people. You're so fucking dumb. I do enjoy the majority of the visual effects in this film though. A lot of it is practical and you can tell when it cuts to like miniature models of when the volcano blows its top and all the smoke comes crashing through the town. Still looks cool though. And the flash flood of the river overflowing and taking out the bridge. Paul, for some reason, not jumping out of the truck, just kind of standing there on the bridge, going, I'm going to die. There's no way I could possibly make this 10-foot jump down. I'm sorry. Remember me. And his whole team is watching this, and they're not doing anything to help him or save him. And then when he dies and he gets flushed away, they're kind of just like, okay, well... back in the truck. It's sad. It's a movie that I really enjoyed as a kid. I really enjoyed this movie. Watching it as an adult, though, you see just how freaking stupid this whole movie is. And Pierce Brosnan, you know, he's cool. This was the time when Pierce Brosnan was freaking gold, and he didn't degrade himself by singing in the movie, so that's good at least. But I love these disaster movies when there is one character who is the best at the thing. He is the one man who can do the thing, to stop the thing, to save the thing. But it's just like, it's a natural disaster, and you're the best one to fight it? What are you guys doing here? And his chemistry with Linda Hamilton, I thought was great as a kid. Like, I thought they had great chemistry. Watching it as an adult, though, it is so freaking forced. He comes over to her house, like, just before all the shit hits the fan. Comes over to his house, and it's obvious that, hey, we're gonna bone here. We're into each other. This is happening. And their sweet talk to get them in the mood is like, oh, I haven't done this in a while. Well, you know, it's like riding a bike. You never forget. Ooh, I'm so wet and bothered right now. Ooh. Thank God all the sulfur was getting into the water right after that, because we could have had a pretty terrible and awkward sex scene leading into that. So thank you. Thank God that didn't happen. This movie is pretty ridiculous. If you turn your brain off, and if you're kind of looking for just like standard 90s stupid ass fun in movies, yeah, go ahead. Watch this movie. If you've never watched this movie before, you're really not missing much. I guess if you're studying volcanoes and you want to have some references, watch this movie. I think that's why my brother actually watched it in school, because they were talking about volcanoes, and I think the teacher wanted a break from teaching. But yeah, this movie definitely does not live up to what I remember it being as a kid. I think majority of critics are right. This movie is pretty ridiculous and pretty freaking stupid. I'm gonna give Dante's Peak 2 out of 5 Blu-rays. So guys, if you've seen Dante's Peak, what did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you know the next time I'm releasing next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.